Good morning, everybody. Hope you are having a great day. Hope everybody's making it through this pandemic. I wanted to talk about something that is pretty uncomfortable. And I think these uncomfortable conversations is imperative if we are to grow as a nation, as a people, as a country. Today I wanted to talk about my blackness, and I want to bring up the name of Ahmaud Arbery. I don't really want to get into so many details of the case because I don't know everything that has happened. However, I do realize that my blackness is a threat to America. And, that's a problem. And, if we don't start to have these conversations, we're going to continuously see unarmed black men and black women being shot down by not only police, but by any person that may think that they're in some form of danger. And so the problem is, it's not just happening in one location. We see this happen all across the country. And if we don't start having these conversations, if we don't get involved, if we don't talk, then we have a tough road ahead. And I think that it's imperative for us to talk and stand up for injustice wherever we are, however we can do it. And so for everybody, it's not to go out to march. For everybody, it's not to take up arms. For everybody, it's not to, get in a financial battle to make it better. For we all have our own individual nicks. For some people, it might be doing something like this, having a conversation on social media. But whatever your thing is, I think that we have to start having these conversations. And so, what's troubling to me is that I've seen so many of these videos, where black people are criminalized just for the color of their skin, just because of our blackness. And so, this systemic racist system is real. We can try to act like it's not. We can pretend that we don't see color. And I think all of those things are most definitely not true. How can you not see color, but you know how to stop at a red light? Or how can you not see color and you know the color of your shirt? So to pretend that we don't realize and recognize the color of our skin is one of the first things that is very, very wrong. We have to acknowledge that there is a difference between race. And listen, just because I'm pro-black doesn't mean that I'm against white people or any other color, right? So many times people think that, oh, if we talk about our blackness, if we represent our blackness, if we're proud to be black, that we're against everybody else. That's a misnomer and that's a lie. So for everybody who's going to watch this video and try to say, oh, here go another black man that's angry and oh, black people this and black people that, you're a part of the problem. See, because a lot of my white friends are very uncomfortable when I begin to talk about race. For that matter, a lot of my black friends are uncomfortable when I begin to talk about the issues of race. However, every black person knows that we are most definitely different. I'm a large guy, right? And I know that I have to change the way I talk when I'm around a certain group of people. I have to change the way I walk and change the way I carry myself because intentionally, if a white man sees me, he automatically sees me as a threat without having ever know my name, without ever having a conversation with me. The moment a white man sees me, he sees me as a threat just by pure appearance. Now, the question is, why is that? And I think it's because society has done an amazing job with criminalizing black men, which making white people think that black men are dangerous. And so right off rip, whenever you see me, you automatically think that I'm a thug or that I'm dangerous or that I'm a gangster or I'm going to rob you or I'm going to steal something from you. And so those are some of the pictures and images that we have to begin to tear down. And listen, guys, it ain't going to come easy. Where we got to do a little bit more than marching. We got to do a little bit more than just hoping that it doesn't happen to our family. And as long as it doesn't affect us personally, that we're okay. Because the fact of the matter is that we are not okay. It is not okay to be comfortable with seeing black men and women gunned down all across this country. And I know every video we see, somebody got something to say. Oh, they shouldn't have did this. They shouldn't have done that. Or they should have been here. They should have been there. But every case where you can see a black person doing a specific thing, crime, walking, or doing something that they're not supposed to be doing. You can see white people doing the exact same thing and never get beat down, never get shot, never get tased, never get slammed to the ground. I've seen white men in videos with guns and the police never draw their weapon to try to neutralize the situation. So I don't want to hear that, oh, well, these black people are doing this or these black people are doing that. Lose me with that, because there's so many cases across this country where white people are doing the exact same thing and they don't get the same treatment. They do not get the same treatment. If you go to work every day, every black person know that we got to work twice as hard, twice as long, be twice as smart just to barely keep up with our white counterparts. We can be more educated than them. We can have more work ethic than them and don't have the same position level. So if you pretend that blackness don't matter, then you are part of the problem. And so we have to start having these uncomfortable conversations if we're going to really begin to see justice. Because at the end of the day, we're being used for target practice. There is no reason in the world why two white men should take it upon themselves to become the law and say, oh, well, I think this guy is robbing something, and I'm going to create this ludicrous story and to call into the police, and no matter what the dispatchers say, I'm going to use my gun and make America great again. If I was a black man and I did that, if I seen a white boy running in my neighborhood and I felt like, he looks suspicious, and I get my gun and follow this guy and get in a tussle and shoot this white boy, I can guarantee you I probably will not make it off the street. I may not even see a day in court. And that's the reality. We can pretend like it's not. We can pretend like, oh, it's in that situation. If I decide that a white person is a threat in my neighborhood and I follow them away from my home and I block them off and I decide to use my weapon to protect myself, I can guarantee you that I'll probably end up dead on the street as well. And that is the brutal reality of what's going on. If I was a George Zimmerman and I reversed it and I followed a white man in my neighborhood and the cops told me not to, and I used my firearm to stop the threat, I can guarantee you I'll probably be killed on the streets as well. And so as black people, we have to start standing up and talking against these injustices at all levels. And I know most of us, even as black people, we don't want to hear it because we've been taught not to love ourselves. We've been taught not to value ourselves. We've been taught not to take pride in our blackness. And for some people, blackness is a shame, and that's a lie. We are all not violent. We're all not thugs and all of that, like I said before, but we do have to take up this mantle and be proud in who we are. We do have to take up the mantle and support our brothers and sisters, right? Because if we don't, who will? Because we know the politicians won't. They're going to say whatever they need to say to get in office. We know the current administration will not, So if we're depending on all of these outside entities to try to take care of us, we're going to be looking at dark roads. We're dealing with a lot in this time. The coronavirus pandemic is taking us out by astronomical numbers. Police are taking us out by astronomical numbers. This prison system is taking us out. And, if we don't start to stand and speak against all of these things that are attacking us, we will find ourselves in dark times. I don't think it's right that two people can decide to take up their guns and kill anybody. And so that's beyond just being black or being white. If you're not in an immediate threat, if you're not in the process of being robbed, or if your house is not in the process of getting broken into, no matter what your color is, you do not have the right to follow somebody and kill them. And for every person that is making justifications for those people who've done that, you're wrong. I know you don't want to hear it. I know it's going to attack your pride. I know you don't want to accept that fact. But if you decide to take the law into your own hands and you're not a police officer, you're wrong. If you decide to leave your home to follow somebody to try to make a citizen's arrest, you're absolutely wrong. And so there can be no justification in that. There can be no making that make sense. And so if we don't stand up as a black race and speak against it, if we don't rally our troops to speak against it, then, shame on us. I see tons of videos about white people talking about the blacks aren't ready for a war and all of this stuff. Initially, I believe that black people are not a violent group of people. And so I believe that, that's been some of the problem. When you look at the accounts of unarmed black men that have been killed by the police and by just white people in general, very few of them had weapons. Very few of them fought back, So this norma that we are a violent people is a lie. And then the very next thing that we hear people say, oh, black on black crime, but when you really look at the numbers, black on black crime does not come near the amount of white on white crime. How many black people went and shot up a school? How many black people went and shot up just churches? So we see accounts all across the country where we are targeted. And if we don't speak against this, we let them think that it's okay, And so again, I'm not a person who hate white people, but I do love my people. And it's time for us to speak up. It's time for us to let the world know that it's not okay. It's time for us to let social media know that it's not okay. It's okay to say that Black Lives Matter. And for every white person that's out there, just because I say that Black Lives Matter, that does not give you an opportunity to say that all lives matter. Of course, all lives matter. But at this junction, at this point in time, the dispensation in which we live in, black people are being murdered across the country. Little black boys and black girls are getting slammed on the ground, are getting handled like grown men and grown women. And it's not happening to every race. So lose me with all lives matter. We know that life in general matter. But for so many of us, we need to see and hone in on the fact that my life, my skin, my blackness matters. Because on so many occasions, it seems like it doesn't. And so if you are not black or brown, Hispanic, if you find yourself of the Euro-American population and you think that there's something that you can do, stand up and talk about the justice and the truth amongst your peers. Because when you are silent, it says that you are okay with what's going on. And when you don't want to have the tough conversations about what's wrong in this country, then you are a part of the problem. When you're silent, you're saying that I agree with it. When you're afraid to correct your peers, you're saying that I agree with it. If you're a police officer and you know that your peers are not handling their badge correctly, if they're not living up to the oath that they decided to take, and you don't say nothing, that you are a part of the problem. You're just as guilty as the one that pulls the trigger. You're just as guilty as the one that says nigga, or the one that thinks that it's okay to target black people or just kill black men. If you don't speak up against it, you are a part of the problem. And I know that's hard to swallow. I know you may not see yourself as being a racist, or you may not see yourself as being a part of the problem. But if I was in a car with a group of guys and I sat in that car and the guys decided to stop at a grocery store and rob it, and I never get out the car. I never say anything. They come back into the car. They got the money or whatever they stole. Then I'm an accessory to the crime. I'm going to be held accountable just as if I went into the store and pulled out the gun myself. So lose me with this whole I'm not doing this, I got black friends and all this and that. If you're not speaking up for what you know is right, then you're a part of the problem. You are an accessory to the racism that is happening across this country. And I know that's hard to swallow. I know that you may be offended right now because I'm calling out the differences between blackness and whiteness. Your white privilege have allowed you to live in a country where you don't have to worry about teaching your sons and daughter what to do if the police approaches them. You do not know the burdens of having to be able to teach your children how to respond to a white woman or a white man in any kind of situation. Not to raise your voice too high, not to move too quick. See, because you live in your white privilege, you never have to worry about that. In your white privilege, when you get mad, you can just yell and say whatever you want to, and nobody's threatened. Nobody feels like they're in danger for their lives. But if a man like me raises my voice in the wrong place, I could lose my life. And that's a reality. And see, so many of you have never thought about that. You never thought about a system that is designed against you because you've been on the other side of that system. And it's okay if you've never really had to experience it and you didn't realize that it was real. But don't make excuses when those people who know that racism is real and they know they are racist and they know they are taking advantage of minorities. Don't make excuses for those people. When are you going to stand up? To all my white friends out there, to all my white Facebook friends, when are you going to stand up? When are you going to say that it's wrong? Until then, you are an accessory. And so I think America has to really wake up. We have to really wake up and really take a stand. Because if we don't, we're going to allow this system to continue to grow. And it's something that has been put in place since we've come over here. You know, it's so many things that I could talk about from the black perspective. It's so many things that I could talk about how society views us. You know, I think that it's all a part of a plan when, you know, you see somebody get killed that's black and the person that murders them via police officer or citizen, you know, the media does a really good job at finding some criminal act, something to try to let society know that it's okay that they got killed because they were there was a bad person, you know. So, you know, countless stories. And, you know, the title of this live was Our Silence. We've been silent too long. I've been silent too long. I have dealt with the burden of seeing so many people murdered all across this country. And it affects me as a black person. You know, I can't pretend that it don't. I can't pretend that I'm not furious about it. And, you know, I needed to say something about it because, you know, if I'm silent, then I'm an accessory as well. If I don't speak up against this injustice that we're seeing, then I am a part of the problem. I think that we as a black race, as a beautiful people, we're smart, we're educated. We built this country on our backs. Our ancestors built this country. You know, you can say that we didn't, but we did. You know, you could say that, we were just like, who you think was doing all the work, you know? So I think that it's time for us to take a stand just as who we are. That's not to issue out a war against white people. No, it's about self-love. It's about loving ourselves. It's about saying that we are enough, that our lives do matter. And it's about coming against all kinds of evil that is attached itself to us by other people, by this system, by, you know, those that are in office. You know, we have to change the way we think. And if we stay within the confines of our own mind, then we're going to be lost. If we think only according to what the media shows us, then we're going to be lost. If we can't begin to make our own decisions and do our own research, and that's for every person, black, white, Mexican, it don't not matter, brown, black, yellow, red. If we don't begin to educate ourselves and look into things that we've always been told, if we don't decide to actively think instead of being told what to think, then we are a part of the problem. So I just wanted to share with you some of my thoughts, some of my ideas and ideals about our race, about our people, about this injustice that we're seeing, about Ahmaud Arbery. You know, it's so sad that names become titles for conversation. And white people has never had to have that conversation because they're not being gunned down in the streets. A white family has never had to have lawyers come from across the country and have marching sessions and protests because their white son or daughter has been murdered unjustly by citizens or the police. So before you say all lives matter, think about that. How much national news coverage have you seen of a white male or a white female that was gunned down by the police that needed support from the country? How many times have you seen a white family have to bury a loved one early because their life has been stolen from them before it's time by somebody with a gun or by a police officer or by a citizen? How many times? So think about that before you say all lives matter. Because, you know, the fact of the matter is, at this junction in time, at this point, we need to focus on black lives. I'm not saying that all police officers are bad. That's not what this video is about. This is not a I hate the police message either. Nor is this a I hate police message. A white people message. It's not that. It's standing up and telling the truth. I believe that there are good white people out there. There are good police officers out there. But I also believe that there are people out there that are not so good. And if we continue to allow the people that's out there that are not so good to walk around free and inject their poison into our communities, into our homes, into our school system, into our judicial systems, and into our government, then, you know, we'll never see justice. We'll never see things change. We'll never see this system being torn down and rebuilt in a way that is equal for all persons. So if you really believe that all lives matter, when are you going to stand up and say enough is enough? This is Elgin Stevens. Until I see you again, peace.